Hello everyone, Olga today with you. The top news today is that Russia is calling 300,000 people from military reserve. And thanks for my viewer, he actually gave me a very great question, and he reminded me that many people, they don't know that Ukraine has mandatory military service. From where does military reserves come from? Who can be called for fightings and so on? So in Ukraine and in Russia, because our system somehow is similar. So today I will give you answers on all those questions. So if you're interested, please stay with me. Let's start if the service is mandatory in Ukraine and in Russia. The answer is yes, it is mandatory, but it is, let me start a bit from the history, that in Soviet Union it was always mandatory 100%, and it was once Ukraine became independent. Also, I guess something like for 10 years, most of the guys was always serving in army, and the way that you will not serve was, the chances that you will not serve was very minimal. And actually, if you never serve in army, it means that you are very weird and there is something really wrong with you. So that was actually bad for you and for your reputation somehow. Little by little, Ukraine started decreasing the amount of army which is there at all. So they not always call all the people to serve in army, because sometimes there is no need to fit all this amount of guys to the army service. I don't think that Russia was decreasing level of their army. About this fact, I'm not sure. So I guess in Russia it wasn't the case, but in Ukraine it was the case. Then a lot of people has exceptions. What is this? First of all, this is people who are studying at university. So normally in Ukraine we finish school at 16 or 17 years old, and call to serve in army comes from 18 to 25 before, and now it is still 27. And normally after you finish school you are going to university, and this is something like very standard in Ukraine. If you want to achieve anything in this life, for sure you must go to university. We have a lot of universities where you can study for free. We have a lot of cheap universities and whatever. So somehow you can say higher education is very available. And the one who don't go to study, this is the one only who don't want. It's not about that you don't have money or something. Somehow. Most of the guys, they're going to study at university, and this gives them exceptions that they will not be called for military while they are studying. Then, after they finish university, they will be already something like 22. They still can be called for army, and this is very tracked. So actually, when you want to receive the diploma from university, this your graduation certificate, or I don't know, they will tell you go first to military, this kind of like place. Tell them that you finish university. Once they will give you paper that yes, we know that he already finished and we can call him for military service, you bring this paper to university and they release you your educational certificate, master degree, bachelor, whatever. So in this case, that was really built strictly, and it is still strictly like that. So I don't think anything changed. It was in my time like that. So yeah, they track and they know that now you finish university. And if university kick you out, I guess they by themselves notify this military department that this guy is not anymore studying. Then you can be called for army, but what I understand the case was in Ukraine, that as I said, the amount of people who is serving in the army was always getting smaller and smaller. And if they need to call somebody new, they prefer to call somebody who is 18 years old instead of somebody who is 22, 23 years old, for example. And year after year pass, and done. You already exceed the age when you can be called for army, and done. This was one of the things how it was happening. Another thing, that if you got married, and in Ukraine it's very common that guys are getting married after they finish university. It's not super common, but this is very available. So once you finish university, you're getting married and you are starting your life. And as per law, even if you have pregnant wife, so you don't have kid, but you have pregnant wife, you cannot be called for military service. If you have kid up to 3 years old, you cannot be called for military service. So many guys was fitting in this kind of executions. Then, even if you will be still called for military service, there is a lot of people who has health problems. And I'm not saying that health problems because many guys are writing me, for example, oh, I know how your husband get out of Ukraine, even they don't know at all what, but it's fine. You can just go and buy some certificate. You don't need to buy some certificate. There is so many people, and even between my very close people that I know, who cannot be served in army because of some medical problems. For example, you have a bad vision. You don't need to be blind totally. I guess if this is something like more than -3, me personally, I have -7, if you don't know. So I have bad vision. And if I would be a man, for sure nobody would call me to serve in army. This is very bad, and nobody will allow you to be in lances in army. Then if you have flat foot, if there is any problem with your backbones, if there is anything else. So I don't think that between you guys, you don't know anybody who has a bad vision actually, right? So this problem with bad vision is very available in the world, and such people will not be served in army. As I said, there is a lot of medical diagnoses actually. I really don't know many of them. There is a lot of internal things and so on. But I know that at least with this, with flat foot and with backbone problems, if your back somehow is not straight but it's scared or whatever, so this is for sure not. And there is so many other things. So people may be not called because of these problems. Then, this is how people are getting accepted from the military service. The next thing that also some people in university, some universities, they may have something called also like military department, or I'm not sure how to call it, but this is something while you are studying at university. In our university, our guys had such things. It's you can it's like based on your wish. It's not mandatory, but if you want, you can be part of this kind of military department. So time from time, or maybe I guess it's during the 1 year, every weekend you will go, you will have some kind of military trainings, and after you finish university and after you finish this kind of military trainings, you are getting degree that you are officer. So you will not be just a soldier, and you cannot be called like a soldier anymore to army. It's considered that you are done with army and you have some kind of officer, smallest degree, or not degree, I'm not sure, status. And even if there will be war, you would be already not the one who is fighting on the most front line. You will be the one who will have a bit some kind of higher level and higher tasks. So many guys was participating to such things. It's not really served in army at all. They was just going having some basic trainings in the city on the military bases, how to shoot, I guess, how to, I don't know, whatever they was doing, and they was getting such kind of degree. Now about military reserve. What is military reserve? In Ukraine and in Russia, there is actually two words, but I found in English it is all called reserve. But we have two types of reserve. One type of reserve, this is actually people who just serve in army. And after they serve in army, they consider that they already know how to fight, they already pass some kind of military training, right? They're not somebody who's totally never carry a gun. So such people, they will be in some kind of reserve, which will be called in the last time, in the last stage, but they will be called because they still know how to fight compared to somebody who never fight. Then there is another type of reserve, which is based on contract. And Ukraine since 2006, and as I read Russia from 2016, they started having contract army, and that was the reason also why they start decreasing amount of people who they call to serve the army, because they replace part of these people by the one who will go and serve as per contract. So you can serve in army as per contract, and after you finish serving in army, you can sign a contract. It's all volunteering, so nobody force you for that. You will receive some money for that, and you need to come time from time for military trainings, just like keep your knowledge up to date, let's say like that, in military. And this is some kind of replacement to have huge regular army. You have smaller regular army in the country, but you always have people who is considered in reserve with signed contract, and they're the one who will be called on the first place if there is any invasion or war or something in the country. So that's the things. This is actually from where military reserve is coming from. People who is in military reserve, usually they need to only to protect your own borders, they need to fight for your own country. What Russia is doing now, they are not fighting for their own country in reality, they are just invading another country. And yes, they get a lot of loss and they just need more people. So they said, okay, now we will have this kind of partial mobilization and we will call people from reserve. In reality, they for sure cannot call it because you cannot engage these people to fight in another countries. But how Russia market that, they actually marketing that US and NATO is the one who is invading and threatening Russia. But Ukraine, they use it like battlefield, but they're targeting to invade Russia, Russia in danger, and now we are calling military reserve to fight. Also at the end, I want to say that in Ukraine right now, there is no problem with people to go and fight. I mean, we have a lot of people who volunteer to go and fight. We have people who volunteer to be part of territorial defense and so on. So what I read, they said they are not mobilizing right now people who don't want to fight, who didn't come by themselves and say that we want to be part or sign up for us for reserve. So we want to be called, because most of my like friends and relatives who is fighting, all of them go by themselves. They really wanted to fight. They know how to fight. They had some kind of experience in past, and they sign up for it. So Ukraine is not really grabbing anybody by force, unlike Russia, who is bringing them, blackmailing them, they're taking them to prison or go and fight and so on. So this is how the situation nowadays. I hope you like this video, hope it was informative for you. And please, if you have any other more questions, what you would like to hear, answer for that, write me in the comments and I would be very happy to reply for you. Bye bye.